Episode 6, Gardening.
Let's discuss gardening in the South. Now, I don't know how much you know about shelling peas or putting up corn. Those things are some of your earliest memories if you grew up where I grew up. And those things are also a little bit of a tedious memory if you're not looking at it the right way. While you're shelling peas as a child, you think you're being punished a little bit, but in reality, those are the best times. The good old days, as they call them. Some of my best memories are sitting on a porch in a glider, which is between a rocking chair and a two-person swing. It's on the ground, though. It doesn't hang. We know a lot about gliders here. Sitting on the screen porch in a glider next to my great-grandma Elvie. As she was shelling peas, we were shelling peas, and she was talking to whoever was over as a guest at the time. They were also shelling peas. It's communal. It's something to do while you're chatting. And it is usually a porch activity. Shelling those peas to get them put up. You got to put up the food here. Now, we all have gardens. Some of us just have gardens for the experience, just because we're supposed to. Some of us have gardens because we actually want to eat the food later in the year or right then. We've all got tomatoes regardless, whether we eat them or not. There are tomatoes. But you got to put that food up, and it's usually a family event. In my family, we all got together for potato digging day. Grandpa would get either the mule or the tractor to pull the plow, literally the mule, the family mule, to pull the plow, and that turns those new potatoes, they're red potatoes, call them new potatoes up, and we would go behind them, gathering those potatoes to put them on those little trays, put them somewhere dark and cool. Every family got their own little section, and we got new potatoes for the rest of the year. Now, that one was a good one because it was usually pretty quick. Putting up potatoes doesn't take too much. One of the best days of putting up food is when you're putting up the corn. You got to put up the corn. And now there are a few ways you can put up food. There's canning food, there's freezing the food. You can even freeze dry it if you're fancy with newfangled technology. But here's what would happen. Everybody would wake up way too early. Now, there is a reason that we wake up way too early. It's because the heat is insufferable. But I personally have always found waking up early to be insufferable. So it's kind of just not the best of times for me. So you got to get your attitude in check. Enjoy your family, knowing these are the good old days, right? So we're going over there with that in mind. Now, there are stations for putting up the corn. Obviously, we've picked the corn. Maybe we did it that morning, maybe we did it the day before, but the corn has been picked. It's on a giant trailer. Again, the mule might have brought the trailer, but also the tractor. And that's where the assembly line begins. Somebody's got to shuck the corn. Somebody's got to open it up. And there's somebody there that's going to shuck the corn and pass it off. Shuck the corn, pass it off. This is a step that I was usually interested to because it doesn't involve knives, and there was a checkpoint right after me. But then the person removing the hair gets a brush. You gotta get those corn silks off of that corn. Get those corn silks off that corn. Get them off there. Scrub them real good and clean. Get them out from between the kernels. Then we hand them off to the next station, and the next station is one that is either a matriarch or one of the very important aunts. This is someone that can be trusted with sharp utensils because they've got to get a knife, and it's usually a specific knife. It's like a gray knife, probably stainless steel, but the handle is also stainless steel. They're little paring knives. Anyways, they get those, and they're gonna cut off the ends of each corn to make it into a nice corn cob. The next step, if you're not having it in just the corn cob, and we will have some of those, some of the full corn cobs will go into the bucket full of water to be preserved for later on, either frozen or usually directly cooked in the next little bit. But the corn we're putting up is going to be frozen after it's cooked, like cream corn. So the people with the knives, again, very important people, high up, high ranking, they're going to start scraping all that corn off into a bucket. And at the end of it, they're going to have this giant bucket full of the freshest corn right there. We'll either freeze it or it'll go straight to the stove, and we'll have some cream corn later on that day. This corn is the corn that goes real good in corn nuggets. Now, if there's any corn left over, maybe a corn cob was bad, the husks, all that, none of that goes to waste. Obviously, you can make a baby out of the husks, a baby doll. But then the mule will eat those corn husks. The deer will eat those corn husks. Don't waste it. These days usually come with a very delicious meal. It's usually home cooked, something they just threw together for lunch for all of us, and then you go back and get to shucking. After lunch, we're usually done, but that could be just the kids, and I include myself in the kids' situation in this. I usually am tuckered out by the time lunch rolls around. All this food is what we'll enjoy all year round. And the vegetables from the garden can be the meal itself. Now, the South is heavy on meat, but also people here enjoy just the vegetables. My family had an Uncle Leon, and he would only eat the vegetables. So when it was just vegetables time, you just throw in something together for lunch real quick. We would have a Leon plate. I bet your family's got little individual cute things like that that they made up, but it's stuck. It's always a Leon plate. If you've got just vegetables and cornbread on your plate, it's a Leon plate. I do need to be clear that this is by no means vegan. All of the things on the plate, whether it is cream corn, peas, turnip greens, have some form of bacon in them, whether it is the grease or they were cooked with a piece of bacon. This is not vegan. If you are vegan, you need to be sure to ask what it was cooked in before you get to eating. But the key takeaways from when you're putting up the vegetables is that it's all of us together. The South is communal. We're all coming together. None of us are getting paid for this in money, but we are getting paid in packages of delicious homegrownness.